Thanks for having me, Sharks. My name's Scott Kinka. I'm the CTO and a founding partner of Evolve IP. I'm also one of three things standing between you and a cocktail, so I appreciate your time. Our mission today is very simple. We want to tell you about Evolve IP, the cloud strategy company, and what we're looking for in return. What we're looking for is a commitment, your commitment and the commitment of your teams. And we're also looking for you to challenge yourselves to be thinking about the cloud sale as something different than selling services. At the end of the day, your opportunity is about selling strategies. We've heard throughout the day today that your customers are already there. 5, 6, 7, 8 services that they've already purchased in the cloud. The question and opportunity in front of you is how do you want to participate in the motion they've already moved on? In exchange for your time, in exchange for your team's commitment, we are going to offer you a sticky, long-term, and growing customer base that you can hang on to and experience money from for a really long time. Okay. So we've all been here. All of you have been in this room. We've been in this room. We start our first appointment. We begin our spiel. We get dragged to the back room. Wouldn't you like to see my data closet? You know the room. The room with the hacksaw, the hole in the door and the fan, and it's propped open, and you have all these wires in here. And we take pictures like we care, right? We grab our invoices. We go through that pile. At the end of the day, what we're looking for is to move them to the cloud. So we've given them this promise, this neat, tidy cloud promise. We can take DR and contact centers and desktops and UC and servers, and we can put them someplace else that's not that, right? Now, hopefully they've moved some of that. Maybe it's with one provider like Evolve IP, maybe it's with several. They also believe so much that they've gone out and added services on their own. So the question I would pose to you today is, have we been so successful that we've taken this IT director from out of the data center business and put them unknowingly in the integration business? How do the solutions that the customer is buying in the cloud today work together? Has the job changed? Have we really saved them time, effort, and money as we move forward? So at Evolve IP, we do a lot of things. We're in unified communications, contact centers, infrastructure, desktop, and disaster recovery. We know what the competitors will say about us. Master of none. At the end of the day, Gartner disagrees. We're in 3 Magic Quadrants. We're in 2 Gartner market guides. We're in these businesses for real. But I would say, walking into a unified communications appointment, who cares? If we walk into this appointment to sell one thing, we are virtually guaranteed of selling nothing. Why do I say that? Because your customers' requirements are not cookie cutter at the end of the day. There are applications. You have a 100% chance that there's an application that's really important to your customer that was in there before you got there. And you need to make sure that you understand what those are. Let's just take the UC example, okay? This is a Mac end user. Who's the first, let me ask you a question. Who's the first user in any business who deployed a Mac? Anybody in the room? Usually the CEO, which means if you have 100 desktops and 1 Mac, you now have to support Mac, right? It's going to be in there. So we've got a Mac user, they're deploying Office, Exchange, maybe they have an application on that requires Windows there in DAS, they have a hosted PBX, IM, screen sharing, presence between those applications, they have mobile apps, and I guarantee you that they already have vendors chosen in 2 or 3 of these spots. So what does the glitzy UCaaS demo get you in your first appointment? But egg on your face. Because the next question that you're going to get is, how do you play with this thing that I already love? Here's one thing that we're asking you to think about. I need you to redefine unified communications as a service to be unified communications as a strategy. We are the service providers. You guys are the strategists. It's important for you to understand the applications that are already in the business and determine how you can lean into that strategy. So what I'm asking you to do when you look at this picture here, and of course, we have a client that can do all of these things, but I want you to consider that you might leave that meeting and the opportunity that you have might only be one of those items. And it might have to play with applications that pre-existed you when you went into that opportunity. All right, here's something to think about. Your client's favorite application is the one they're already using. Any solution that you're going to deliver to your end customer that asks them to change the way that they're working today is the hallmark of a failed UC implementation. So you have to start asking questions and understanding what's going on in the rest of the business. Let's talk about a few of those questions. The first one is, how do you collaborate today? What's your email platform? Are you Exchange? Are you Google? Are you married to Skype for Business at this point? Are you already an Office 365 customer? What do we have to play with? You're never going to drag that tool away from a customer who's already engaged in using it, right? How about your CRM? Are you in love with Salesforce? Is that where you live? Are you in ACT, Dynamics CRM, Sugar? Where do you live? Here's one that we often forget. What kind of browser do you use? Do you even have a strategy around your browser? Why is that? Well, I don't know. Maybe there's an application that was written by your accounting department, the accountant who was in the community college C+ class 5 years ago and wrote the Visual Basic app that needs IE8. Well, guess what? If you don't know that, the glitzy demo doesn't matter. What matters is understanding what the requirements are inside the business. What are their device requirements? Apple, Windows, tablet, PC, thin client, mobile phone. You need to focus your energy on qualifying the UCaaS opportunity around finding out what the customer's already doing. If we get in there and talk about phones and 6-second billing and door ringers and auto attendants and IVRs, the game's already over. We've already lost the customer, okay? Let's take a look at what's happening in your world and in your world, right? Today you have customers who perhaps you bring on a network contract. Maybe it's 2 years, maybe it's 3 years. You sign the contract, all's well and good. You hope you can keep the carrier on track during implementation, and then you hope they don't screw it up throughout those 2 years so you can get the renewal. That's generally the way that process goes. Now, your customers also may be refreshing desktops every 3 years, maybe refreshing servers every 4 to 5 years. Maybe they're still on their premise-based phone system at 7 to 10 years. And at the same time, they're looking at backup, DR, what they're doing for email, contact center, security, help desk, what their international strategy is, SD-WAN, right? We can't have a unified communications conversation that's just about unified communications at the end of the day, all right? From Evolve AP's sake, what we would ask you to think about is that in 2016, 42% of our new revenue came from the sale of new services to existing customers. We had one master agent that we work with who saw a 30% appreciation of the revenue on their customer base that started at the beginning of the year, not including any new sales. What we're asking you to do is find the opportunity that you're comfortable entering into the conversation with. And that's really what we're talking about. We think that every cloud sale has 5 general components, all right? Financial, can they buy? You know, maybe they're chasing EBITDA and a capital expenditure is something they actually have to do. Geez, the cloud pitch really doesn't work right there if the customer has to buy something, right? We need end users to be in love with it. We need alignment amongst the various buyers. You know, we hear people up here talking about IT directors versus customer service managers versus the CFO. We need them in alignment. And we need the technical issues taken away to figure out what we're gonna sell them. But what we really need out of you, what we're asking you for, Sharks, is just to ask the questions to find out what's on time. And here's the question. You have one project right now that you don't want to do, don't have the money to do, or don't have the knowledge to do. What's that project and how can I help? All right. That's all we're asking for from you, Sharks. So with that in mind, we have a lot of tools available to help you through that conversation. We're looking to help. Our strategy around channel partners is sell with, sell for, and sell through. We will run as much of the sales process as possible. What we're looking for you to do is find us an opportunity in one of these categories, and we gave you some examples in UCaaS about how to begin that conversation, but it could be in any of these categories because ultimately we're looking for something that's on time. You can hit us on our partner portal. There's lots of information there. We have our team. Raise your hands, gang. Anybody from Evolve IP? We'll see you at dinner. And what I'd like to know is, Sharks, do we have a deal?
How do you bridge the gap between, you know, it's great if we can take everything, you know, to the cloud, but I think a lot of us in the room that have sold virtual desktops have learned that we can't migrate everything overnight to a virtual desktop environment, that we need some type of hybrid. It's got to be done slowly. You know, what kind of training can you give to our teams if we make an investment with you to be able to ease that customer into whether it is a complete migration to virtual desktop or, you know, boots on the ground from a hybrid perspective so that we can gently move them into that environment?
So first, I would agree, there is no unicorn. No one's going to pick up everything that's in their data center and move it at one time. It's not possible. The second comment that I want to make is about desktop. One of the challenges that businesses had with moving desktop infrastructure to the cloud was the assumption that every user in the business was a desktop user. And that's something that we don't approach at all. For us, the base unit of measure inside of the business is desktop management. So what we sell is a platform as a service for managing physical and virtual desktops, and that becomes basically an on-ramp to solve the business's problem. One thing that I can tell you is unequivocally not paid attention to by your prospect is what's going on their desktops today. It's also the job they are more than happy to give away. So in that regard, we would start with a remote monitoring and management platform, get everything on board, manage it, and then we'll find which candidates are really candidates for a desktop, and it's not 100%.
So Scott, with your significant growth, how will you ensure the high level of customer support?
First of all, thank you for stating the high level of customer support. We're very proud of it, and it's one of the hallmarks of our business. And yes, the business is growing very steadily. It's been an aggressive time frame of growth for us, both domestically and internationally. I think there's a few things. One is taking care of your employees so that they don't leave. We have a 95% employee retention rate inside the business. So the chances are, and several of you have experienced that with us, the chances that your customer will be deploying a second service with perhaps the same project manager they had on the first one, maybe years later, is very high with Evolve IP. It's important to keep that level of continuity going. So just like revenue, the best way to grow revenue or to grow employee base is to not lose the ones that you have, right? That's the first one. The second one is we're obviously making investments from a budgetary perspective to ensure that we stay ahead of that curve. So I'm going through budgets right now. We call it the most wonderful time of the year. We build up all of our staffing over the course of the year for what we think that we're going to do, but two lines, project management and customer support, are actually derived from the top line revenue number. So if we exceed our numbers, the budget's already designed to hire to back that up.
So you talked a little bit about selling into your existing customers. How do you help your partners do that? How do you help them identify the cross-sell and upsell opportunities of that base?
Yeah, it's a great question and I think a lot of that has to do with sort of that float scenario we talked about. Some of our partners will just flat out say, look, I'm comfortable with the UC conversation, but I'm not with this one over here. So perhaps what we really need to do inside the base is just sort of drop an email, drip campaign, get them thinking about DR, and then engage Evolve IP account management to do that. Regardless of which way we lift the account up, our partners are paid. Whether that's you coming to bring the opportunity to us directly for the next service, or whether that happens in their relationship with us over time. So we need to work together to figure out just how far you want to go and jump into these categories that are perhaps uncomfortable. What I will say to you is this: we all need to get over any discomfort, because the other revenue that you're chasing here outside of the network and telecom is the revenue that in many cases the bar across the street has today. And they have something in front of them, which is a revenue problem, right? I sold something yesterday, I got terms on it, I kill what I eat, I have to keep the doors open. They're not ready for recurring revenue, right? So you have an opportunity to get really uncomfortable. That's okay. Ask some questions to find out what's going on and begin claiming chunks of revenue that frankly you don't have access to today. But that just requires that commitment, sharks, that we're asking you for, wink, wink. Hopefully we can come to a deal.
Well, with that commitment, you're asking us to leverage our success with you on a lot of different aspects of our business. Mm-hmm. What are you going to do to make sure you don't have outages, and how are you going to respond to any outages that you have to get us back up and operational quickly and effectively?
Yeah, great question. I mean, I think that the first thing that comes along with outages is ensuring scale and continuity. We are, on the underpinning of our UCaaS products, which is what this is about, we are a BroadSoft shop. Some good questions asked on a previous panel about that. And the reason we made that decision, and I'll agree with Ira on that, is we leverage it for dial tone. And at the end of the day, with 18 million users on the platform that we leverage, it's designed to be able to geographically scale. Many of our competitors are in single head-end oriented processes where a server or group of servers is required to be geographically redundant on a per server basis. In our world, our platform is built to have essentially a global network tier, a global media tier, a global applications tier, and it's designed to go that way. And frankly, what you really need to do is ensure every leg of the success of the solution. So that's our own applications, but that's also the connectivity of the customer, right? The one problem that we all run into in cloud, we've heard a lot today, is it's great if it's working in the cloud, but if I can't get to it, it's kind of, it's useless at the end of the day. We deploy our own SD-WAN solution into 70% of the sites that we deploy today, allowing you to maximize the carrier relationships that you already have, but ensuring that we're right at the core from an aggregation point of that SD-WAN service to be able to deliver services back onto our network. So it really is an end-to-end strategy, both from a customer access perspective and within the network. I'm still ranging for that deal. I'm going to keep pushing. Can I have a deal with anybody? Anybody?
I heard that I can grow my business, whether you sell it, if I brought it to you, or if you do it by yourself, but I brought it to you, you're going to grow my revenue?
Yes.
And I'm going to get paid?
Yes.
I'm in.
Well, I don't want to rush into an acceptance. I mean, are there any other sharks who'd like to make a better offer at this point? I mean,
Really?
of course.
Can you pay me her revenue?
You have a deal.
Why don't you rethink that?
Anybody else? Questions? Good job. All right. Thank you.